Hello, my lovely ladies and gents. Welcome back to another episode of Thrift to Vintage. This is my show where I take used, unloved, sometimes a little tacky, thrift store clothes and I transform them into beautiful vintage styled outfits. And today I'm going to show you where I took this sort of just very plain, I think 90s cotton dress. I loved the checks. I liked the potential I could see in this lovely, nice cotton dress. And I turned it into, well, this, what I'm wearing now. So there's quite a number of little things that I did along the way. And why don't we just get right in and I show you what I did. So for this design, I was really inspired by some early 1920s dresses that I've seen, some house dresses in a vintage magazine. So they have this sort of, like oblong, long, squarish neckline with the collar that is very straight, very angular, square straight across neckline, and I love the little sort of tab front that comes all the way down with the actual belt over the top of the tab. I really quite liked that look, so I thought that this would turn really well into that design because it is a nice looser fit, but I can just cinch this in with the belt like the designs. And I can add all of my neckline changes that I want with the collar and the yoke and all that sort of thing. Add my waist tie probably on top just like the picture. And then of course I'm going to shorten this, and hopefully with what I cut off the hem I'm going to use to make a matching belt. And maybe hopefully to be able to actually lengthen these sleeves so it looks more like those pictures, keeping it more authentic looking. I'm just going to, play with a bunch of things, different collar combinations, different belts, and see where I end up. Okay, so after a lot of trial and error, I went through all of my little doilies and lace and all sorts of combinations. Most of those doilies and things like that are actually a little bit off-white and it didn't really match. I think I really like the white with matching with this much better. And this is probably very hard to see here. But I quite liked that large doily that was on here, but it was just a bit too frilly. As soon as I put this sort of straighter piece on, and I'm using my imagination a lot here, the sort of straighter, simple piece I think is going to work better. So what I'm going to do is use this this white cotton fabric that is actually a men's shirt that has been hacked up a little bit for a different refashion. I think for my this one was used in demonstrations for my the vintage fit, my online class, so it's getting another life yet again. Now I'm going to create a nice like skinny yoke that will come actually quite a lot lower down here with the matching belt over the top. Now I've just put this here so I can sort of visualize what's going on, but I want to create a more of a collar piece just like the pictures. So I'm going to create that out of the same white fabric, and I'll work on seeing what little trims might suit it. I'll sort of make it up and then see what suits on top, and definitely some little buttons down the middle to finish. First I'm going to create this centerpiece, sort of pin that on slightly and then make the collar kind of around that and kind of do the two together and work on that first. So let's get into it. had a fitting today and she came in with 19 dresses for me to alter. So that absolutely cleaned me out of pins. I have about 12 left in the studio, so not many to play with. Okay, this is approximately what we're looking like. Let me reference our picture. Yeah, so I mean, this is where it will come, you know, different, because the original picture has a high collar. At the back, it is a high neck, whereas mine is scooped down. So it's definitely going to start to look different, because this one should come up here like this, whereas mine's going to sit wide. So, you know, this is where I guess we take creative license and just make this look proper in the proportions that it needs to for this particular refashion, this garment. So I think that I actually want to narrow off that shoulder just a little bit so that it comes a little bit bigger down here. But I really like that. I'm going to just make that slight adjustment to the shoulder, do the other one, and pin these on and start getting this together. Well, sewing time is up for tonight. So I have my collar on, I've got the little tab down the front, it's all stitched on. I just need to trim a few threads. I need to put some lace, I think, on this collar, but that's it for tonight. I will do the lace and then deal with the hem and the sleeve business probably tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow. It must have been really late last night, because I'm looking at this again with fresh eyes this morning and it's not really that great. I'm not loving how this is sitting. So it just doesn't really want to sit right. It's probably a bit washed out for you to tell. You can see through here, it's just not sitting flat and flush. Down here is just not quite right. Up here it sort of sits up and away rather than sitting flat. It's just not quite right. So I've just been playing around with the shape of this, because it's a straight collar, that's the point of it. But we're trying to attach it on a round curve, you know, neckline, not ideal. So I've been playing around with it and this is what I've come up with. So like I said, trying to stitch a straight collar onto this curve was just not working. So what I did is unpicked underneath, I'll show you here, unpicked this section here where I've got it all curved and it's not sitting right, and then have just realigned it sitting straight. And there's just a larger roll line section through here underneath where the roll line is. So now it's sitting really flat along here. It's sitting nice and crisp and straight. The idea was to have this point where the collar meets was to be sitting back here where the little tab starts, as the picture is. But that is just not going to happen with this refashion. Sometimes, you know, things just work out like that. It's just the collar, this is how it needs to sit. It needs to be pushed and stitched in here more. I'm going to line it up with the lace. That's just how it needs to sit to look nice and beautiful. So I'm just going to roll with it, and that is what we're doing. So I've pinned on the lace through here as well, so I'm going to attach that. But it still needs something else. So looking through here, it is rather quite flat looking. Through here, through the collar, it's just kind of flat. Like I really want this tab to be able to sort of stand out more and stick out. So I'm thinking of using some rickrack. What I'm thinking is not to put it on top, have it poking out the underneath section just like this, to kind of give it that, you know, emphasis, to really stand out. So I didn't want any frills or anything. I think this will look really nice. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just unpick this little edge of this collar and realign it so it's nice and pretty like this one. And then I'm going to add this rickrack to it just to finish it off. Okay, so the collar is looking much better. It still needs a press, but it's coming along pretty well. So I'm going to put it in, put it on, and I've belted it up so it sits kind of where it will. And now I'm going to actually see how much I'm going to take off this length, and then that means how much fabric I have left to then play around and see what I can do with these sleeves. So, hem first. So in my online sewing school, I actually teach many different variations on ways to do hems. And on this one, it would be really nice to have like a really big sort of heavy hem to sort of weight it down. But because I want to actually keep as much fabric from this hem as possible to try and use some for the sleeves or something else, and the belt, I actually want to do a teeny tiny little double term hem that uses the least amount of hem allowance possible for this one. So let's go ahead and cut this hem off, and I'm going to see how much then I have left over to get the belt done first. Oh boy, is it hard to choose buttons. Oh, so I have narrowed it down to a choice of 3. I have some beautiful beaded navy ones, they're very dark navy and beaded and sort of sparkly, or these white ones with sort of a brass center. They have a little bit of a plus because I won't have to stitch those on. They actually kind of like press in and then the back butterfly is open. So that's always good if you don't actually have to do any hand sewing of buttons. You guys know how much I love that. And then some red ones. It's a very tough call. I think I'm going to go with these red ones. Mostly because I like the fact that I can sort of replicate that detail with the, you know, and put them on the little collar here. I actually have enough to do that. I'm going to group them to make them look a little unusual and do the matching detail on the collar. So purely on that fact, I think that that kind of just completes the look. So I'm going to go ahead and sew all these red buttons on by machine. I'm going to sew these ones on by machine, no hand. That makes me happy. Along so well, but now I'm left with this really tough decision. I thought the buttons were tough. I have this much fabric left. So I can either use this to try and lengthen the sleeves and make those a little bit longer to try and get that sort of more 3/4 style look with a little, you know, probably with a white little cuff at the side. Or I can use the fabric to make pockets and little patch pockets. And again, I would probably put some little white trim on the top. Yeah, this is a really, really tough one. Yeah, I am going to figure this one out, and I think I'll surprise you with what I do at the end. Alright, so remember, if you're enjoying this so far and you haven't actually subscribed to my channel, make sure you do so now, because you'll want to see all of my refashions in the future. I'm going to pick one. I'll have to get out a coin maybe if it comes to it, and then I'm going to surprise you with the reveal. I bet you thought that I was going to choose the long sleeves, didn't you? Well, me too. I actually really did want that longer sleeve on this, but I had to choose between the sleeve and the pocket, and you know all where I live, it is very, very tropical hot. So I thought I'd get much more wear out of having a shorter sleeve and adding the cute little pockets there on top. So I did also put some little belt loops on this as well to hold that belt in place. And one of the small tiny little things that I also did that I didn't show you, surprise, is I just added the little, like it's a piece I cut off from the hem somewhere, and I actually just added it as a little trim along the shoulder here in where the checks come down, and they're contrasting, so it just gives that bit of definition. And it is just like, you know, the extra fabulous is in that, just those tiny little details. That's really what makes you know, simple transformations go from good to great. It's those little details. So all in all though, I'm really happy with how this dress turned out. It looks really cute. I'm really happy with my choice of the buttons. I think having just that small detail with these ones on the collar edge here really just make it. And of course the ones that are on the back that you might have noticed as well as another little surprise. It really just tops it off. Again, it's those really small details that make all the difference. But I cannot wait to wear this dress. I think it looks fantastic, and I'm really glad that I went to the extra effort of putting in the rickrack around the edge. It's really just lifted the collar, and this little tab front out. It's just made it perfect. If you haven't actually met me yet, I do lots of vintage transformations and learning how to sew on this channel. So if that is what you're into, and I would suggest it is because you're still here watching, I suggest you definitely subscribe to my channel so that you get all the updates. And remember, like this video if you liked it, and I would love to hear from you down below what you thought you might actually change in this. I had a lot of choices along the way, which buttons to choose, which sort of collar, the belt, the pockets, the sleeves. I would love to hear what combination you might have chose for this transformation for yourself. I'd love to hear from it in the comments below. So thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, bye. Are you right there, Esme? Yeah? Do you know the camera is right there? You're in the way.